All right, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. This is Mike Choma. I'm the co-founder of B2B Connector. I'm actually the CEO of B2B Connector. And today I have a very exciting podcast. I'm going to call it a roundtable, everyone. I'm going to call this a roundtable because what we got here today is going to help all walks of life, all businesses out there. Before we get started, a little bit about why and what we're doing here. About 2 years ago, and June 21st was our second year anniversary, B2B Connector was created. And it was created out of me, my wife. We've owned a commercial finance business for the last 26 years. And we have a lot of B2B businesses that do equipment finance with us for years and years and years. And one of the things that attracted me to the SIMERP, this program we're going to kind of talk about a little bit today, was helping employees. Really, employers, obviously, they're going to get help. They're looking for ways to save money on taxes. We get that. But the biggest thing is the employees. We knew that this could help the employees. So when we went out and we started feeding this opportunity to our businesses, as we had so many of them, all of a sudden, a lot of the businesses were saying, wow, where'd this come from? I've never heard of this before. And now 2 years later, I've come to the conclusion that so many businesses out there are missing this opportunity. So many of them, to the fact that, unfortunately, we have an accountant, a CPA on here, and we have an attorney on here. We have a business owner on here. So many of these three entities mess things up for a lot of the employers and the employees out there that I had to do a roundtable discussion. So that's really my story. What I like to do now is transition over, okay, and really talk about SIMERP, a roundtable discussion. I'm going to bring on Skip first. Skip, introduce yourself and your little background and, what got you into looking at SIMERPs.
Well, my name is Skip Coomer, live in Carlsbad, California. I've been a member of the California Bar since 1990. My wife and I own 2 urban wineries in downtown Oceanside and downtown Biscayne. I'm a business owner. In fact, I've run several different businesses, so I can see both sides of the situation here. I started my consulting firm with the ERTC, and I was able to help 500 employers receive their money from the government, their ERC tax credits. And I started looking at SIMERPs about 2 years ago, and I've done deep dives with about 15 different providers. When I found EHP, this is the one I was the most impressed with. Everything has been legitimate. I have really asked them multiple questions. I've read all of their documents. They do everything by the book. I'm very comfortable with it. But over the years, I've been a counselor to my clients, my business clients. And I try and give them information. My biggest hurdle with meeting with business owners is there'll be a CPA or some attorney who says, well, this just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. And what I try to explain to them is business owners take risks. I don't believe that the advisor's job is to green light or red light something. I believe their job is to analyze different scenarios and different opportunities and provide the business owner with the risk, situation and let them make a business decision.
Wow. Okay. I got you. I want to transition over to Kevin Marshall. Kevin Marshall is a CPA. And Kevin, what I want to bring up to you is, for the last 2 years, I've heard that this comes out of so many people's mouth. My CPA told me this can't be because they never heard of it. And it can't be true. I don't know if any of you heard that before, but as a CPA, Kevin, introduce yourself, what you've done and all that, and let's get into that kind of conversation, okay?
Sure. So, Skip, first I want to say Skip stole my thunder. No. So Skip and I have a similar background. So my firm also during the pandemic got involved with the ERC as well. So we didn't quite help 500 employers, probably more like 100, maybe 200. But I actually wrote a book. It's for sale on Amazon called Tax Credits Are Sexy. So they are. So I've been a CPA for 35 years, mostly on the 100% on the compliance side. And during the pandemic, when we got involved with the ERC, it was kind of like a light bulb going off here late in my career and saying, oh, there's tax advantage programs out there. If there's this one, there must be others as well. And so that's how I found out about SIMER. We were partnered with a marketing company, and we were doing the other pandemic credit, the self-employed, what was it? The self-employed, I can't even think of what it is now. SETC, self-employed tax credit.
Okay.
And so he brought it to where he was, and I remember it, he's like, hey, have you ever heard of SIMER? And I said, no, right? So I had never heard of it before. So yeah, I looked into it as well, researched it, and said, wow, this is an amazing opportunity for business owners to both, cut costs, save money in payroll taxes, and provide an amazing benefit to their employees. So, so that's a little bit about me and my background. And so, I had never heard of it before, and, I've been CPA 35 years. And so, what was the question, Mike? It was, what exactly?
When I talk to a business owner, I'm going to get into a business owner next, but when I talk to a business owner, they really always say, my CPA never told me about this. They've never heard of this, so it can't be true. So,
right. So, so speaking from the CPA world, so there's, the IRS tax code is 7,000 pages long, something insane, right? So it's impossible. It is. It's impossible for any CPA or tax attorney to know everything that's in the IRS code and every tax advantage program that's out there. It's absolutely impossible.
Yeah. So
number one.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Kev. What I am going to do, like right after we do this roundtable, we're going to do myths and facts, and that's going to come back up again. So we're going to have a lot of time to kind of chat on that. I do want to bring on a business owner. Why? Because this is a true story. Shalico is obviously got a small company, but he had a CPA, right, Shalico, that literally told you, do not jump, do not go forward on it. So Shalico Bassett, bring yourself on and tell everybody about what your background is.
Good morning, guys. I'm Shalico Bassett, and hey, Skip, I'm from San Diego. I lived in Carlsbad myself for about 10 years. My father was the general contractor for the San Diego Temple down there on the 5. So we built that and many other structures down there, but that's the one you might know is that particular structure.
Yes.
It's a pretty nice building. But we ended up leaving Carlsbad because of regulations and just different things. It was becoming more difficult, less profitable. And we moved to St. George, Utah, which became one of the hottest spots in North America for small town growth. And we've been very successful there. And I've had from 4 or 5 employees all the way up to 20 employees, just depends on market conditions. And one of the biggest problems as a business owner is employee retention and getting the quality employees. And as a small business owner, it's almost impossible for me to offer medical benefits or any kind of benefit at all, especially in the construction trade, because the benefits are just very difficult they're expensive. And when a gentleman came to me 2 years ago and told me about this, I was like, I don't know, man, sounds kind of fishy. So first thing I did is I called my accountant and said, hey, have you ever heard of this? And he goes, no, but I wouldn't mess with the IRS if I was you. Don't do it. So then I called Mike back and I was like, hey man, I'm a builder. I'm not an accountant. I don't know anything about this. My guy says, don't mess with the IRS. I personally don't want to have a problem. And then Mike said, well, and just like Skip said earlier.
Don't tell him what I really said, but anyway.
Yeah, but business owners, we take risks and we have to listen to all of everyone's opinion, and then we evaluate it and move forward. And for me, I didn't want one person to decide my 20 employees' decision for not getting any medical benefits and a pay raise from their taxes if it cost me nothing. And in fact, I actually got a little bit of savings from my corporation as well. I needed more information, and Mike was able to provide me some information. There was a company you guys might know, Krispy Kreme Donuts, and he gave me a story from them that said that those guys, they went from an 80 to 90% fail rate in 12 months. 80 to 90% of the employees would have rolled through that they had hired, and they have a huge training process. Same with me in construction. I'll train a guy, and he'll become the best employee, and 10 seconds later, he's down the road for another guy because he's given him more dollars or more benefits. So it's a huge problem as a business owner to get the time and expense to train people that are good. You don't want them to leave. And so Mike was able to give me background and other parts of it. And I went back to my accountant, told him some stuff. Basically, he told me, he says, hey, it is in the code. It does look, it's obviously a law. If you want to move forward, it's on you. And I said, I want to move forward. This looks like a very good deal. And in my town, I was one of the very first that I know of, even though it's been around for, since 2012, no one had heard of it. And now in my town, there's dozens and dozens of people that are on the program. And I would imagine in the next 5 years, Mike, there'll be thousands, if not all of them, will try this.
Bottom line is every day there's a new The pendulum is changing. And I want to bring Kevin back on. Hey, Kev, I got a question for you. So what specific information or documentation helped you better understand how the program worked? Like, you got on, like they said, 8 months ago or 2 years ago. I forgot. I get confused because I thought
Over a year ago.
Over a year ago. What was the documentation that got to the light bulb to go off on it?
So, to me, the analogy is, I have my CPA hat and I have my entrepreneur hat, right? So to me, it's the analogy of, right, when I'm old enough to remember when 401ks were first introduced back in the late 80s, early 90s, and people were skeptical about 401ks and like, oh, how could this be? How can this be real? Is this the real deal? Because it was new, it was novel, and it hadn't been done before. So to me, that's the analogy, is that, and I agree with you, Mike. We are definitely I'll get to answer your question here in a second. I'm just going a roundabout way, but we're definitely seeing more and more. Back to Shaliko's point too, is definitely more and more businesses that are becoming aware of it, and are taking advantage of it. It's not so novel and new anymore. But for me, it was. And again, it was the fact that it's a Section 125, which is, every business owner in the country understands what Section 125 is, because they either have a 401k or they have their health insurance that comes out pre-tax. So, it's just another pre-tax deduction is what it is. And
it's unbelievable. It's so simple. It's so simple, but yet so many people miss it. It's so unbelievable.
Right. So it's simple, but it's not, right. It's a blend of both. So it's mentioned in the circuit. So I'm going to nerd out here. So right in the Circular E, which is the employer's guide to payroll taxes, which, like no employer in the country has ever read. Only the nerdy CPAs and the attorneys have read it, right? But no, it's mentioned right in the Circular E. It talks about, the SIMER, the health, the wellness reimbursement is mentioned right in this. I mean, the Circular E is like 120 pages long. So, nobody but us have actually read it. So it is. It's right in the code. It's there. And as Shaliko mentioned, it's been around since 2012, and definitely it's taking a life of its own, getting more traction.
Actually,
and more business owners are taking advantage of it.
Actually, I'm going to bring Skip back on, because I believe Section 125 has been in since 1978, right, Skip?
Yep, that's correct.
There you go.
Yep.
See?
I did not know that.
I play this. I mean, you see that commercial? He says, "I don't want to play an attorney, but I did sleep in a Holiday Inn." So I've been watching and seeing all these deals come across my desk. We're talking thousands of businesses. So I'm learning too, Skip. So I want to ask you this question, Skip. When evaluating the SIMERP, what legal compliance documentations were most important for you to review?
I read all of their documents. They have a master service agreement. They have a SIMERP basic plan document. They have a wellness plan document. They just have it all lined up. It's appropriate. Kevin referenced so many tax codes. There are over 1,100 federal tax programs. Each of these are designed to incentivize behavior. 125 was formed because Congress said, listen, we need to incentivize businesses to offer medical care for their employees. So we're going to make it a pre-tax deduction, and that'll lower the income tax that the employee pays, and it'll lower the FICA taxes that both the employee and the employer pays. This is not a new concept. Some smart people came along and invented these programs. And why has Congress not gotten rid of SIMERPs, despite the IRS wanting to change 105B, which is the code that says that reimbursement by an employer to an employee for medical costs is not a taxable event? Why has Congress not changed it, even though the IRS asked twice? Because it's public policy. This creates a healthier employee pool. I'm actually employed a SIMERP for my winery employees before I had been involved with EHP. Or I would have used EHP because I like it better. But the benefits are just so good. If I may, can I talk about the benefits for a second, Mike, or do you want to save that for later? It's up to you. It's your show.
You're on a roll. Go ahead.
Okay. So look, when you're on Blue Shield, like I am, and they offer telemedicine, right? But you're not going to talk to anyone for a long while. Dermatologist could be a month, right?
Yeah.
And then your employee has to leave work. Let's say they're a full-time employee. They have to leave work. They have to drive somewhere. They have to wait in the office. They have to pay a copay. They then have to be seen, and then so they're not as productive, right? And let's say they have a spot on their arm and they want to have a dermatologist look at it. They'll talk to a dermatologist within a day or two on this program, and so there's less friction. They can do that while they're sitting at their desk. It creates a healthier employee pool. It is absolutely beneficial. and I put my money where my mouth is.
Skip, I gotta tell you, I'm gonna bring you on, Shalico. I'm gonna bring you on, but I want to say what Skip just said, ladies and gentlemen. What he just gave you is gold. Okay, so any accountant, any CPA, any lawyer, listen to this podcast right here. Hello, you better listen to what he just said. Shalico, I want to bring you on real quick, and I want if you want to enlighten what Skip just said. Go ahead.
Yeah. So back to that, I have an employee that works for me, and he was self-medicating for his prostate and not telling anybody about it or whatnot, just reading online, doing whatever. And we had just implemented EHP, and he filled out the form. He was already registered. He did everything. The onboarders showed him how to do it. And he called me up in a big panic and said, hey, man, I've got a problem. I haven't gone to the restroom in 4 days. And I'm like, what? You better go to the emergency room like right now. And he goes, I don't have insurance. I only have what you gave me. And I go, bro, you need to go to the emergency room like right now, because I don't want any liability for saying anything wrong. Well, come to find out, there's an 800 number for emergencies on the teledoc. Within 3 minutes, he logged on with his iPad. I kept him on the phone because I was really worried for him. I could hear him in the background. Within 3 minutes, the doctor came online. And I was expecting him to say, go to the emergency room. Like, oh my gosh, this is a big problem. No, man, the guy, they can do all their examinations through the iPad, blood pressure, all the stuff. And within 21 minutes of him taking that phone call, his wife was at the nearest pharmacy picking up 4 different prescriptions. And within less than an hour, he had relief, where I know if I told him to go to the emergency room like I wanted him to, he would have been there for over 2 or 3 hours, because it's not, his arm didn't get cut off or anything like that. He would have been around all those sick people. He probably would have been 4 to 6 hours of an examination and all that stuff. Probably, I'm not a doctor, but I'm just saying it probably would have been a $1,500 bill at the emergency room. He paid $11, Mike.
Wow.
$11. So as a person who his employee used this product, I can tell you it is worth every dollar. Oh, that's right. I don't pay any dollars. I get dollars from the government. It's an amazing deal. I just wanted you to know that, because Skip did bring that up.
Hey, listen, I got to tell you.
And I honestly, I'll tell you guys right now, and people can, I did the program a selfish reason as a business owner, one, to give the employees the benefits, but the 99% reason was for me to get the tax credit. Like Kevin says, as a CPA, I wanted the money. If the government's going to give it to me, I wanted it. Now I'm a believer in the product.
Now I do have
my own employee.
I do have a question for you, and I'm going to ask it, but I do have to bring this up because I know we're having a fun time. We're going back and forth, and this isn't scripted like politics. Okay, this is real. And what I'm hearing is, and it's sad what I'm actually hearing is, because I'm just going to be very humble. It's very sad when and Skip, hear me out on this. It's very sad when we bring a deal, we get them the enrollment, we get them all the way to the table, we work we go to discovery, we do everything we can, all right? And then all of a sudden, no disrespect, Kevin, a CPA comes out of the blue, all right, and says this is not good to the employee or employer, okay, and kills the deal. But what we just heard, ladies and gentlemen, didn't just kill the deal, almost killed the person that works for a company. I got to tell you something. Shalico's story should wake everybody up that is looking at this opportunity. Because if you say no to this opportunity, you just said no to possibly hurting the chances of your employee having that happen to them or get free prescriptions or whatever. A no is a bad situation. There's no to this opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. The only no is in your brain that you're hurting your employees. You're actually stabbing your employees in the back. So let's move forward. And I got to ask you this question, Shalico. What ultimately gave you enough confidence to move forward? Your accountant, your CPA, your accountant said no. You literally said, sorry, we're moving forward. What made you make that decision?
Honestly, it was the Krispy Kreme donuts, because my family and I, we go once a month down to the Krispy Kreme place.
I can't send donuts to every company I talk to. I'm sorry. I just can't. So.
We watch them make the donuts, and I've been to their store, and I've seen dozens of employees there coming and going, and I physically like Krispy Kreme donuts. They're amazing, fresh off the grill and all that. And then when you said that they had been in there and gave me their documentation, their story, I was like, you know what? They're a much bigger company than me, and if they're willing to take that deduction, I was willing to move forward. And honestly, Mike, you told me I could cancel anytime I wanted. If I didn't feel comfortable, if I didn't like it, you told me I could cancel. And I was like, you know what? Then I'm going to give it a
30 day. You have a 30 day. You got to send in a 30-day.
Yeah. I had 30 days. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
No,
and good. So I figured I had nothing to lose,
Kevin, I want to bring you back. Specific information or documentation to help you better understand the program. Obviously, you were doing your research. You were looking at it. Now, obviously, there's so many CPAs out there that, number one, haven't heard about the program. But number two, now they're going about and they're literally like, what do I look at? What specific information made you kind of jump?
So having a CPA background, to me, it's right. Compliance is is big for me, even though I've sort of transitioned from 100% compliance in my practice. Now I do a lot of tax advantage programs and tax strategy, besides SIMERP, other tax advantage strategies. But to me, it's the compliance. And so I know it hasn't come up yet. So we have two layers of protection when it comes to audits. The first layer
that was coming up eventually.
So of course it was. So the first layer, I believe it's $50,000 is the dollar amount, is with it's an insurance policy with a law firm that specifically covers clients and the employer and the employee in the event of an audit. And if that is not enough coverage and the IRS persists and in their audit and insists on assessing fines, penalties, back taxes, or whatever, we actually have a $20 million E&O policy that would cover that. So as of today, whatever day this is, none of our clients have ever been audited, and quite frankly, the audit risk is very low anyways on this type of program, because back to, I believe it was Skip that was talking about, Congress is trying to incentivize people to be healthy, and this is a great way. So now I want to share my story. Both Skip and Shalico got to share their personal story. So yeah, I'm a member as well. And so we travel full time. So we were out of town. We happened to be in Scottsdale, and my wife woke up in the morning about 6 a.m. and she didn't feel well. Her head was all stuffed and she was dizzy. So we thought, it's got to be vertigo. So we said, call the wellness company. So we called within 5 minutes. The doctor called back, diagnosed it right over the phone, and said, yes, definitely it's vertigo, and you also have a sinus infection. So that made it a little bit more complex. So I immediately left her Airbnb, drove down to the Walgreens, picked up the prescription, and the same thing. Within 20 minutes, she had the medication that she needed, and she stayed in bed the rest of the day, but she never had to leave the room. We never went to urgent care. At 6 a.m., you're going to go to the emergency room, right? And it's a 6-hour ordeal. We've already talked about this. So yeah, it was an amazing experience that there was, at zero cost. The medication was even covered, and we never even had to leave our room.
Oof. I got that. That's powerful. And here's
on vacation.
And here's the thing, Kev. This is important. Your wife maybe had Blue Cross, maybe had other insurance, but she went first line of defense here. Why? Honestly, probably to save on the deductible, possibly.
Correct.
B.
Yeah. It would have been like $500 to go to the emergency room.
There you go. Now, Skip.
And I'm a CPA. I'm a cheap CPA.
Be careful there. Now, Skip, I'm going to bring you back. Any stories?
Okay.
You want to talk about your stories? Everybody wants to talk about the stories. I mean, stories are good, but any story for you?
3 or 4 come to mind. One employee, his daughter all of a sudden was in severe pain at night. They called. They diagnosed as urinary tract infection.
Oh, yeah.
They had their medicine within an hour. They went to the local, I don't know if it was CVS or which pharmacy it was, and they had their medicine within an hour. They never imagined she would have normally have to have gone the whole night at least before she could go in somewhere the next day. Of course, her GP wouldn't see her the next morning without notice and an appointment, so she would have had to go to an emergency room or to another care facility. So that's one. My wife had this red rash on her chest, and she called in and they diagnosed it. They prescribed something and that went away. Yeah. And then my president who lives in Utah, one of his sons was deathly ill at night and he was able to get the medicine within an hour. All of these things, if you look at the delta between what would normally happen without this product and what they were able to get taken care of, it's huge. We're talking pain, agony. Everyone would be up all night long while the child is crying. It's really something. It's worthwhile. It will. I think when an employee is making a decision about leaving because they have another job offer or something, they go, wait a minute. The wife might say, or the spouse might say, wait, are we going to lose that? Are we going to lose that telemedicine thing that's instantaneous? Yeah. So I think it makes it for stickier employees.
And you know what? And I'm going to ask you a question here, and this is a very important question. I know everybody's waiting for this one big question I'm going to ask you right now, but when you analyze what you just said and what Shalico just said and what Kevin just said, and you know how many small businesses, we're not just talking about Krispy Kremes. We're talking about small HVAC companies, plumbers, 50, 60, the 70 employee, the 100 employee deals. How many of those are waiting for someone to share this with them? And it's sad because a lot of people don't get that call or don't get that opportunity. But Skip, here's a very important question. I'm gonna bring it up because it comes up a lot. Can a program be misunderstood simply because someone has never worked with one before? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the fixed indemnity. I'm going to bring in the double dipping right now. I want to bring that in because we go all the way to enrollment. Sometimes we go all the way to the end, and then all of a sudden we get this IRS letter from the. And I'm going to bring up something while you're doing that, so we can talk about the double dipping and all that. So as an attorney, explain how a SIMERP is a little bit, shouldn't be in that bucket because people put that in the same bucket. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, so when people are introduced to this program and they're advising a company or maybe their internal CFO or something, they do a little bit of a search like you would expect them to do. And they find a couple of letters from the chief counsel of the IRS that talk about indemnity programs and how they don't like them. Why is it against public policy? Because the premise of insurance is that it's to make you whole, not to make you rich. So if you make $100,000 a year, you can't get $10 million of life insurance.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So an indemnity policy says that hospital indemnity, for example, they'll tout it by saying, hey, all you have to do is check into the hospital and you're going to get a check for $5,000. Doesn't matter what happened at the hospital, all you have to do is check in, or an ambulance ride. Well, it's not correlated with your loss. Insurance is meant to keep you, to reimburse you. So they don't like indemnity policies. But people will read that, they will get confused, think that our program, SIMERP, fits into that when it actually doesn't. And I can tell them time and time again, I can explain the difference. And then ultimately, here's the killer. They finally, after 2 calls and 4 rounds of emails, me explaining them, I write a legal opinion, they say, well, unless you can show me where the IRS says this is legal, I'm not going to let them do it. And I go, well, first of all, it is mentioned, as Kevin had said, in IRS documents, and I don't think it's your job to red light or green light.
But first of all, I got to say this: anyone who thinks IRS makes law and owns a business shouldn't own a business. Let's keep it there. Let's keep it there, right? So I want to do something real quick. I want to show you guys a slide real quick. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that in a second. I want to show if I can find it. All right. So this is what we were just talking about, and I don't know if you can see my screen. Let me know if you guys can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Oh, it's not gonna be big enough.
Yes.
It's not gonna be big enough. Hang on, guys. I don't know if I can make this big enough. I don't know if you can make this big enough. I apologize. This is, and if you want this document, I can always email it to somebody. This is SIMERP Libre. Now, the biggest thing, really, when you read this document, I'm going to read it to you. What the IRS rejected, I can't even read it. It's so small. Oh my God. What the IRS rejected is basically what Skip just said, and basically what remains legitimate. I just want you to think about something here, and I'm going to do my best to make this a little bit bigger. But what you really got to think about is when you look at this program and you get tied into, say, Revive, you get tied into the wellness piece of it, okay? These are true board certified. I'm going to go back to the round table. These are true board certified physicians. These are real doctors. So if you do get a rash on your chest and you do get treated, Skip, you're a lawyer. That is a medical situation, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
It's medical care, yeah.
That is not me saying you got a rash, so Shalico is going to wire you $1,000 cash to take care of it. That's technically what people lump these programs into. And I got to tell you something. If you stop at the research there and you don't do your due diligence to really find out what you have your hands on, shame on you. Shame on you. You're not being a true business owner and a true business advocate for your employees. Now, Shalico, are you still there? I got a question for you.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I know you were probably working. Yeah. You were probably building a roof or something. But I got a question for you. Since implementing the program, what impact has that had in your business? And I know on the wellness piece, awesome. And I don't want to get into total numbers, but as being under 20 employee, a small company, you guys are not Krispy Kreme. You're not a 2,000 employee deal or a big university. You're under 20. You're a small company. What impact has it been?
The biggest impact, honestly, has been the money is great for it's not that much, like you said, it's maybe a couple $1,000, but it's the medical benefits that this program's able to offer my employees, and it's the retention rate that I've been able to keep now, where I actually have the guys that work for me, they'll tell their friends, and they will try to get them to come work for me now. So where before I have to put out huge ads, go through a lengthy process, hire 10 to get one, just our labor market's really difficult. And now I don't experience that feeling, because when I tell them that I'm going to give them some medical benefits, I get the cream of the crop applying for my positions.
Wow.
Even though construction is a different field, it's very difficult. I mean, I'm sure just like in vineyard business, you're the same way. There's employees that are totally awesome, and there's employees that you wish you could just get rid of tomorrow.
That's incredible.
And the retention rate is better than any time in history of me running my business for 30 years.
I got one more question for each of you. Then we're going to open up myth and facts. We're going to go through a round table, and then we're going to close this out. But I'm going to go back to you, Shalik. If another business owner contacted you now that you know what you have today, asking you, what do you think about a SIMERP? What would you say? And I know you've done this already with a couple clients, but what would you say?
The most amazing thing that I tell all of my subcontractors that work for me, I want them to see the benefit that I'm seeing for myself. And so I always refer them over to you, Mike, personally, because we have the relationship. But in our team, you could it's an amazing process. I tell everyone, just like when you eat at a good restaurant or you find a great deal at Costco or something like that, you tell all your friends about it. And so I'm on this call with you guys to tell other business owners that are maybe thinking about doing this program, you should do it. There's no downside to doing it. Kevin told us that they have a $20 million policy for getting audited, and Skip has given us the validity of all the laws that are in place. And you've actually educated me even more today about the validity of this decision that I made, of how strong it is. And actually, thank you, Skip, because I didn't know that the reason why these laws come into place is to incentivize us to move forward. And that is exactly what this particular law did, was incentivize me personally to do it. Wow. So thank you for reminding me, because I actually did not recognize that, Skip. So that's a very good analogy. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Kevin, I want to bring you in. What advice, Peter's advice?
Mike, are you still on screen share? I can't see anybody.
I apologize.
I'll click video roundtable up there at the top.
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
Oh.
So sorry about that, Kevin. What advice would you give a business owner, as not only a business owner, a CPA who's never heard of this or anything like that? What advice would you give a CPA and a business owner evaluating this program?
So yeah, obviously do your own research and your own due diligence. I mean, Skip brought up, the fixed indemnity program. So, that is a confusing piece of this. So what we have seen is that a CPA or an attorney will, use AI or a Google search, and they'll find that, and they'll just stop, and they'll just go, oh, that's it. Nope, this is the IRS doesn't like it, and they don't do enough research or enough due diligence. So yeah, definitely do their own research and their own due diligence, and ask questions. Obviously, the folks at EHP are available for questions. They have a team of CPAs and tax attorneys that are available for these types of questions. And back to Shaliko's point too is that honestly, business owners take risk every day. To me personally, this is not a risk, but some people view it as a risk, and there is such a low audit risk, from the IRS, involved in this, quite frankly. Number one, and then number two, with the two-tier audit protection, to me there is no risk at all. I mean, it completely eliminates the risk altogether. So I would say So to summarize, do your own research. Don't just do a 5-minute research, right? Do more work than that. Talk to people, like who are currently in the program, and talk to the staff who, they have the legal professionals and the accounting professionals within the organization to ask questions of.
That's awesome. Skip, I'm going to bring you up, but here's the thing. Here's the risk. If you don't do this, you're really risking the opportunity for your employee to leave you eventually. Honestly, I'm being real because employees need stuff like this. This economy is not favoring their employees right now. their employees would love an opportunity to not tap into a $10,000 deductible. They would love the opportunity. Like me, here's my story. It's real simple. I'm on LicenPro. LicenPro at CVS was like $5, $10 every time. I now get my LicenPro delivered every 90 days. I work with a doctor. I picked him because he's got a holistic background. And literally, he got me on intermittent fasting. We work together as a team. I have a regular medical doctor when I go cough. I cough once a year, whatever. That's great. But I like my doctor that I use here because my medicine gets delivered for free. And that's, to me, is my story. I like that. Skip, how about you? Like business owners, people evaluating the program, other CPAs, things out there. What would you say to close this out? And then we get into another segment. But to close this out, what would you say is the, whether, to a business owner looking at this?
Well, first of all, I implemented a SIMERP, so that says something about my belief in the validity of the program. Ask business owners that have done this and find out how happy they are, and get their employees. Maybe we'll ask Shalico to get one of his employees to tell how much they enjoy having it. But my president, they're considering dropping their primary health insurance and just getting a huge deductible, because this is taking care of so many things for them. So many things. They have 2 sons, and they're always getting hurt, and it's so much easier for them to work with this. So they think they can save a lot of money. I would say, look at it. Sure, you're going to save some money as an employer, probably about $600 per employee per year. But your employees are going to get these incredible benefits, and they're going to get a little extra money on their paycheck each pay period.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that a little bit. Everybody that qualifies that gets into the program gets a nice pay increase. And
maybe Kevin could tell. He's the CPA, the numbers.
A little bit.
For the pay increase?
Well,
yeah, it ranges anywhere from $50 a month to as much as $200 a month. So for a pay increase.
Do they pay taxes on that, Kevin? I'm not a CPA, so how does that work?
That's cash money. That's cash money, bottom line, money in your pocket, moolah, dinero.
That's awesome stuff, man. I gotta tell you. All right, guys, I wanted to turn this over to a presentation slide here. Tell me if you can see my slides. Yes,
yep.
Could. All right. We're going to call this segment Myth and Facts, panel discussion. The panel, we're going to do a separate conversation on each. There's not that many, but we're going to go through them. And the first one is Myth 1. If my CPA, we brought this up a little bit, if my CPA hasn't heard of it, it must not be legitimate. Now, I'm going to bring Kevin on. I know he brought it up a little bit again, but I want to bring it up towards the end of this presentation, this roundtable, because this is a big thorn for a lot of business owners. I know Shalico, he said this to me in the beginning. Shalico said, my CPA has never heard of it, so I don't think it's legitimate. And I said, what did I say, Shalico? I said, don't talk to your CPA. If you need a new CPA, let me know. I'll hook you up, right? I mean, we're being
real.
I said, I'll get you a new CPA. But beside that, Kevin, CPA hasn't heard of it. It's still legitimate. We move on with or without the CPA saying yes or no, correct, Kev?
Yeah. So again, I'm just going through my mind thinking of all the different tax advantage strategies that are out there, right? That CPAs may or may not have heard of, right? The Augusta rule, captive insurance, and R&D tax credit. Did you know that one of the most bizarre credits I've ever heard? Because again, I'm one of the leading tax credit experts in the country. Do you know there's a mine rescue credit?
Oh.
So it's like there's like 80 tax credits out there that there's some of them are very, very random. Like that was the most interesting one I came across. Like who's ever even heard of it? So, unfortunately, that's a tragedy, right? To have a mine accident. But hey, if you own a mine and you have an accident, you can actually get a credit from the IRS. Oh. And like 99.9% of CPAs have never heard of that, but it is a legitimate credit.
Hey, Kevin, wow. 26 years I've been in the equipment finance business. When we first started, we brought up Section 179. They all thought I had a different face on they didn't know what it was. Years ago, 401k, they thought that wasn't real. Unfortunately, I'm being very upfront. How many do you think CPAs really know about a SIMERP? Like on a percentage, is it less than 20%?
Oh, very few. Less than 5, less than 1 maybe.
Oh, my God. Oh, wow. Oh, that is so sad. Yeah.
But you understand I understand why you don't. I understand it's you can't keep up with everything. You can't possibly know everything. It's impossible.
Wow. My CPA is very good, but he goes through these cycles every year. They always take a week vacation after April 15th, after the big tax days, because they are working around the clock. When I heard about the ERC and how my winery might qualify, I asked my CPA naturally. He said, Skip, man, I can't know everything. You're going to have to find someone else to help you with that. I can't learn a whole new program, and it's a temporary program. I just can't do that. So I got into it, and I found experts, and I became an expert on it. But the life of a CPA, your normal CPA, they can't learn all these programs. Sometimes they might be a little embarrassed that they don't know, but you can't be upset with them.
That's it right there. That's it right there.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on.
That's the key word right there. They're embarrassed, and unfortunately, there's two types in my eyes. There's a tax preparer and there's a tax strategist, and I love having conversations with tax strategists because they're open-minded, not just if they want to make extra money. They're open-minded to help people, to help employees. I love that. Let's move on to the next one. So, if something saves this much money, the IRS would never allow it. Shalico, you're a business owner. If something saves, you kind of said this to me again, the same thing. You were like, there's no way the IRS is going to let me get this tax savings, right?
Yeah. Shalico? Yeah, they're teaching us to be afraid of the IRS for good reason. And no one wants to mess with them. And so as small business owners, we surround ourselves by insurance agents, lawyers, and our CPAs that we trust, and we go to them for advice. And when they say, hey, you don't want to mess with the IRS, don't do it. And you're thinking, all I'm doing is building houses. I don't really have the capability to take on the IRS, which nobody does. They just go, okay, it's not worth the pain. But I got to be honest with you, this particular program, which you guys have said several times on this call, it is worth helping your employees.
Yes. The
money and the savings is great, but the helping of your employees become financially stronger and healthier with their families, because these benefits not only go for their employees, it goes for their entire household, all of their moms, dads, anyone that's living with them. I can't remember, 10, 12 kids, something like that, but it's a pretty big role that they cover.
Just get 26 years
old. Your spouse and up to 6 offspring.
Okay, yeah. I knew it's quite a bit of kids.
And at no net cost. Let's get real. No net cost. It comes out of
yeah.
So
true.
Wow. Let's go on to this.
Not to mention up to 12 personal psychiatric sessions a year per person.
That's right.
Mental health calls.
They implemented they need employers to do the psychological evaluations or whatever. And this particular program met the legal requirement for me. So I did not, as a small business owner, have to go purchase that mental
that's powerful.
Evaluation.
That's a powerful
huge savings to me. Huge. I was thinking, oh my gosh, each guy's going to pay all these dollars and we're never going to use it. And all of a sudden, it's working out like a champ. It came with this program.
This next myth is really important. This comes up a lot, and I want to bring Kevin in on this because I get into conversations with business owners, and he says, my advisor said no, and he thinks the conversation is over, and he thinks he's not interested or he's not moving forward. And I'm going to bring Kevin on here, but I'm going to elaborate on this because, guys, I got to tell you, if you're listening to me and you're a business owner and you say no to this, the conversation's not over. The conversation just began. You're losing money. Number one. Number two, you're hurting your employees. So when you say no and the advisor says no, our business moves on. We're going to call your competition. We're going to call someone that you may know, and we're going to do this program and help someone else. So, Kev, I'm going to bring you on. Should they listen to an advisor say no and the conversation end?
So, no, I mean, and everybody's entitled to their opinion, right? So, and again, I referenced this before, that EHP has CPAs and tax attorneys on staff that agree with this. Right? We have an attorney, we have a CPA and an attorney on this call that agree with it. So yeah, no, the conversation doesn't need to end there. And that goes back to the point I was making about doing your due diligence. Just don't do a 5 second or 1 minute internet search or AI search. Just find something and then move on. I realize that, business owners are busy. I've worked with business owners my whole career, but to me, to echo, I think it was Shalico that mentioned, to me, the benefit, the big benefit is the wellness program itself. It really is. And then the side benefit is a bonus, right? There's a tax savings also. I know that's CPA just said that. No, but to me, that's, that it's nice, but it's both. We get both. Why not?
It's unbelievable, man.
So right. No, it doesn't have to end there. Talk to somebody else. Get someone else's opinion.
Myth number 4. Every CPA is an expert in employee benefit programs. That's a big myth because I'm going to elaborate on that as well. I talk to a lot of business owners. I have a dealership right now, and he's like, "Guy, are you telling me that the CPA doesn't know about this? He's the best at benefit programs. He knows everything." So again, Kevin, I'm going to bring you on. Is a CPA an expert in benefit programs?
Rarely. There's such, an HR professional or a broker, right? A health insurance broker is going to be the expert in benefit programs, not a CPA. I've never been an expert on benefit programs in my entire life, right? Taxes, tax preparation, accounting, bookkeeping, but no, definitely not. That is not a CPA's area of expertise at all, is the benefit program, employee benefit program.
Yep. Business owner. There's a myth for you, Shalico. So business owners should never seek a second opinion. We get a lot of that. We're like, nope, don't need a second opinion. This is my final stance. I'm not moving forward. So Shalico, if you didn't get a second opinion, which I know you did, you may or never. Well, you actually you were into it once you saw Krispy Kreme. So business owners should never seek a second opinion. What do you say about that?
I think that most business owners should, and they do, but a lot of them will get the second opinion from the same guy that doesn't know what he doesn't know. And Kevin and both Skip actually mentioned to me too that sometimes those professionals that we're calling, they're embarrassed to tell me that they don't know what they're talking about, because I'm calling them as an advisor and they don't want to tell me that they don't know what it is. And so sometimes they'll tell me, hey, I'll get back to you, whatever, and then they never do. Or they just say, you know what, I wouldn't do it if I was you. And then that little bug sticks back in your mind. And so what the best thing to do, like I did and Skip did too, you know that you need to help your employees. You need to figure out and do your research. And you were able to provide me the raw data that I needed to read, and then I could take the actual data to my guys that originally told me no. And after I showed them what it was, they said, you know what, this looks like it's legit. If you want to do it, you do it on your own. And I said, I'm going to move forward.
Okay, we're coming
So
to an end.
why does a professional tell the employer no? There are a couple of reasons we've addressed. They're a little embarrassed. 2, they don't do a deep dive. They don't have the ability to put in the dozens, if not hundreds of hours I've put in researching this and writing on it. They can't possibly do that. And their CPA has been their trusted advisor for 15 years, and all of a sudden they just met me, right? And now you've got someone who can't put any time into it to really truly research it, but is a trusted advisor of a long time. And here's someone you've just met who has put hundreds of hours into it, but yet they're just cautious and overly cautious. One of the reasons the advisor might say no is they're afraid. They're just fearful of the IRS.
Yep.
My job as an attorney, the American Bar Association motto is, to zealously pursue the legitimate interests of our clients. And that's what we do. I'm happy to go deal with the IRS. I'm dealing with a bunch of different ERTC audits and things like that. I interact with those agents. It's not a problem. I'm not afraid of them.
Yep. I'm gonna end it by me saying this. Well, we're gonna get a couple more to go here, but business owners should never seek advice. Here's the bottom line. Too many business owners get the wrong advice internally in their company. Example, discovery call's over. They go and talk to the HR department, or they talk to someone in their companies and never heard about it. So it's kind of like them saying, hey, I'm flying a plane, I have a headache, I can't fly anymore, and they turn to somebody who's never flew before. And that's the analogy that you got to look at when you're asking for advice. Get real advice, get solid advice like Shalico did as a business owner. All right, got a couple more, and then we're going to end it here. Doing nothing is always the safest decision. Shalico, if you would have done anything, if you would have stopped, if you would have done nothing, what would have happened, man? That would have been a bad decision.
It'd be a disaster for sure. Yeah. And most of us business owners that want the best for our business and our employees know doing nothing is not the answer. Doing nothing for right now might be the answer until you get more time, but you do need to do the research to find the guy that's put in the hundreds of hours of research and that guy. You guys know when you talk to somebody that knows what they're talking about, you feel safe and comfortable asking them all the questions that your other trusted advisors did not give you any answers. So whether they're the right answer or not, that person will be knowledgeable enough to give you that knowledge on that certain aspect.
Here's a true story. I want everyone to listen to this. So Shalico was procrastinating. All right, he was waiting 2 months, 3 months.
100%.
And he was ready to write a FICA payment. And I told him, and this is what you all should be thinking about. I told him, before you write that FICA payment, make believe, because you don't feel the pain. When you're about to write the FICA payment, on the form, a little box pops up that says, call Mike Choma. You don't have to pay this right now. Remember I told you that, Shalico? And you were like,
you did.
What are you talking about, Mike? I'm like, how's that make you feel? You're getting ready to write that FICA payment. He goes, you know what, Mike, let's go. Let's move forward. That's how it closed. That's how we got it. So if you're listening to me and you're like, hey, I'm going to do nothing, it's safe, you're losing money. All right. And you're about to write a check that you technically could have kept. And the lawyers, we got a lawyer on here. He knows what I'm saying. You could have kept and retained that money for yourself. So anyway, myth 7. If it sounds different, it's probably wrong. Skip, what do you say about that? If it sounds different, it's probably wrong.
Well, I don't. How can you address that? People don't understand the details, and so it just if they don't understand it, they don't take the time to research it. They don't read one of my opinion letters. I don't know what to say.
Exactly. One thing I will tell you, when we're doing discovery calls, I get a kick out of this too. We're doing a discovery call, and we always got that individual that's with a fine tooth looking at things over on discovery and says, "Aha! I don't think they realize that this is bigger than them." It doesn't matter if you're fine tuning things and you're like, "I don't think that works." It works. You're just not. You're just literally tying your shoes. You're tying your shoes together, and we're screaming bomb, and you're tripping all over yourself. Is what you're doing. So even if you think it's different, it probably it's wrong. It's right. You're wrong for not understanding that it's right. So. Last one, guys. My CPA already knows everything about every tax strategy. What do you say, Kev? Every CPA knows everything about tax strategies. We kind of elaborated on a little bit about this.
Kind of elaborate. I have another. Can I give you another random tax credit?
Yeah.
Did you know that if you open a business in Guam, which is a U.S. territory, you can get a tax credit?
Yep, I heard about that. I was actually on a beach last year, and someone said they were thinking about doing that, and that's the funniest thing. So, I heard about that. Yep.
Again, because I speak on this topic, right? And there's about 80 tax credits. I mean, then I'm getting away from SIMER, obviously, but it's back to the point you're answering the question that it's just impossible to know everything. It's for any CPA or even a CPA firm. A firm full of 1,000, you take the biggest. Here's a good point, right? You take the biggest accounting firms in the world, right? EY or Deloitte or any of these guys, right? And the firm with thousands of CPAs that work for them, they don't have all the answers. They don't know it all. So it's an impossibility. It just can't be done. It's just impossible based on the size of the IRS code.
Yeah. It's amazing how many restaurant owners I've met who did not realize that they can file Form 8846 and get back the 7.65% that they paid on tips to their employees that went through their POS.
Oh yeah.
All they have to do is file that, and their CPA doesn't know about 8846.
It's amazing.
There's just too many.
And I'm going to close with this. I'm going to do a closing statement, but I just want to let you guys know that it saddens me. It really does sadden me when a business owner who doesn't do the due diligence basically says, no, I'm not going to move forward. Because I don't know if a lot of people know who I am. I'm a go-getter. I'm going to go and I'm going to do what I got to do to help other people. But it saddens me because even the employer that says no, I'm not saying I'm not respecting them. That's their opinion, like Kevin said. I feel for their employees because they're not in that decision. They didn't make that decision. They weren't in privy to that decision. If they would have surveyed their employees that they were going to get, no cost this and a pay increase, I think the survey would have came out, I'm in. So when employers looking at this and they say no, they're hurting themselves. I think everybody on this panel agrees with me. They're hurting themselves, correct?
Yep.
Okay. In closing, I just want to let you guys know this was not. I want to thank all the panelists here. I want to thank you all because I got one of you are in Dubai right now. Kevin's in Dubai, ladies and gentlemen, and
that's why the lighting looks a little strange. But yeah, I'm in Dubai.
He's basically running around doing what he's got to do. But this was not to persuade anyone. I just want to let you know we're not here to convince. I'm not in the convincing business. Chalico knows this. I didn't chase him. I basically just threw it out there. I threw the stake out there, and he was hungry enough to see the opportunity. This is to help you make decisions. Do your homework, okay? And before, honestly, rejecting an opportunity like this, do another discovery call. Get on another conversation with one of your advocates. Get the due diligence. Maybe if it's a bigger deal, you can get on the phone with a guy like Skip or Kevin. But at the end of the day, in closing, I'm gonna close it out. Kevin, you want to say anything last thing? Anybody want to say anything last? Because I just want to let everyone on this call know that we all agree we want to help other people succeed, correct? Mm-hmm. That's what it's all about. Helping enough people. So, Chalico, you got anything else to say? Skip, go ahead.
I'm happy to talk with people. It's easy to reach me. You can ask Mike or it's skip@coomber.com, and I'm happy to try and explain this to your advisors.
Please.
Awesome.
Chalico,
the biggest thing is what both the two professional attorney and a CPA have said. They don't know all the rules and regulations. And that's why as a business owner, we hire outside counsel and outside professionals to advise us what to do. And so when you're moving forward or you've at least taken the initiative to listen to the very first presentation, you then should seek out outside counsel that is a professional, is an expert in this particular field to answer your questions. That's what, and Mike was able to provide that for me, and I was able to move forward. So I'm very happy, and my employees are happy, and I actually, you guys heard earlier about one of my personal employees used the program. We use it all the time, but that was a major thing. We're very happy with the situation that Mike has provided for us, and I just want to say thank you for having me on the panel, and thank you, Mike, for giving my company an opportunity to grow and to help my employees. Thank you.
Not a problem. Kevin, you're in Dubai. Before you go out there and maybe shoot an elephant or something, I don't know. What do you got to say?
Are there elephants in Dubai?
I've never been there. I don't know. I got to get there. Good. I froze up. That's not good.
Dubai, bad bandwidth. Well, I want to say thank you, Mike. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, froze.
Go ahead, Kev. Go ahead.
There you go. You're back.
I'm back.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just this is I just enjoy I just enjoy helping people. I enjoy helping clients, and what I love about this is I can do both. I can help clients save money, and I can help clients be healthy. And to me, that's just an amazing arrangement to be able to help a small business, especially right in these economic times.
That's awesome. I'm going to close and say that. I'm going to say this. This opportunity is so life-changing. And I'm just going to be very upfront with you. We all want to help one another. We all want to help people. We all want to do this. But it's going to come down to the individual listening to this that's going to turn around and say, what if it works? What if it is real? What if it does? There's no downside here, ladies and gentlemen. There's really no downside. The only downside is you're hurting your employees if you don't at least give it a whirl. Try it out. Work with it. Go with it. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for the panelists. I'm going to drop off here, but we're gonna keep on keeping on. We're gonna find more and more businesses, and 2026 is going to be an incredible year for the small businesses. All right. Thank you, everybody.